And we are back, and we just finished watching 2021's Eternals, currently streaming on Disney Plus with a runtime of 2 hours and 36 minutes. This movie is rated PG-13. It is based on a Marvel comic series, and I'm going to go around the table and get impressions because I'm still trying to formulate thoughts about this film. Olive G, what'd you think of this movie?
That was okay.
I thought it was okay, too. Did you have a favorite character?
The blonde-haired woman.
Thena, played by Angelina Jolie.
Why'd you like Thena?
Because she was strong.
Mm-hmm. You wish you could make a spear and an axe out of light from your hands?
That would be a super skill to have, actually.
Yeah, that would be kind of handy.
Did you have a favorite scene in this film, Olive G?
Anytime Thena was fighting people.
Didn't have a favorite scene.
Okay.
What about you, Gigi? What did you think of the film? Be honest. You could say you didn't like it. That's fair.
Yeah, not really.
What would have made this film better for you?
I honestly don't know. Just didn't capture my attention.
I agree. Did you have a favorite character at least?
I thought Thena was nice, probably for the same reason Olivia did.
Yeah.
But honestly,
She wasn't enough to carry the film.
yeah.
Fair enough. Did you have a favorite scene?
I like when Sprout got hit on the back of the head.
Yeah, that was good. I wanted to hurl her into the sun.
She was so annoying. She was doing that because she was in love with him.
Yeah.
Never
Be a sprite, girls. Don't do stuff because you think you're going to get some boy's eye to...
I mean, of all the Eternals, she got the kind of crappiest deal. Let's be honest. 7,000 years trapped in the body of a kid. That's got to suck.
But she could, like, pretend to be other stuff.
Your hand goes
It's
right through it. She's still got the body of a freaking child.
Whatever. I didn't have any sympathy for the character.
I
didn't have a lot of sympathy for many of these
I don't think it was
characters.
possible to have really much sympathy for all these characters, considering there were so many of them, and you only had two. It's a 2.5 hour movie. It's a long movie, but
it felt
there's
very
so
long.
there's so many characters to go through and learn about, and you're just
not given the opportunity.
You're just
to
not given the ability. You're not given the opportunity to care. I don't know enough about. Even after the film is done, I would probably say I don't really have a sense of personality from any of them unless it was like exaggerated, like the more exaggerated characteristics. But as far as like who they were, how they ticked, what kind of character arc they may have had, nothing. How do you deal with being alive for 7,000 years? I mean, come on. What? It's got to get boring after a while.
Sure.
How do they love each other? How do you fall out of love? There was just too many characters and too great a time span too. I mean, 7,000 freaking years. It's
Watching this felt like an eternity.
I've honestly sat through shorter things that felt way longer than this.
Really?
I think for what you had to go through. For what you had to go through, for all the characters you had to get through and introduce, I think they did an okay job as far as the pacing.
Okay. You actually made a very good point, which was...
This should have been a miniseries. This should not have been a movie. There's no way you can give any of these characters a fair chance, given that you have such a small amount of time to introduce them, to know about their history. This would have done so much better as a series on television. You could have learned about each of the characters. You could have learned more about the crisis. The big twists that come through the film would have felt more earned. You could have had a more interesting take on the Deviants, the bad guys of the film. You could have had like some sort of secret war that's been going on through the pages of history. You're dealing with like
supernatural
the history of the earth.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts, and apparently in the background of all these things, there were superpowered immortal beings fighting monsters during this entire time. And you could have there is so much meat on that bone, right?
Yeah.
But you have 2.5 hours to tell it in.
And you're constantly building this world that you can't really get to that.
You can't get to it. This could have been epic.
Yeah.
This could have been like a galaxy-spanning epic.
Would it have made...
It just felt it got such short shrift as far as... I mean, like I said, they did a decent job, but at the end of it all, I never formed any attachment to any
anybody.
of these characters.
Even Gemma Chan, who's like the heart of the movie, I guess. Even her, it was like, she's okay. Would it have made more sense? Obviously, you see the title card at the end, the Eternals will return. Would it have made more sense to slowly introduce these characters, maybe not even get them all together in the first movie, and make this kind of a story that would have spanned maybe multiple movies?
Maybe they could have been added to other primary characters' films.
Started to introduce them in other movies.
Like what they did with Spider-Man and Black Panther.
Right.
You get like a little taste of the character. Some of the heavy lifting of their origin is taken off the actual film that they're the primary on. But even that, I feel it should have been a show. Because like I said, you're dealing with the history of the Earth. Yeah. The history of humanity. And I think the rabbit was eating my pants. You're dealing with the history of humankind from basically like the Stone Age to modern times. And they show little tidbits of various things in history, Babylon and conquistadors sacking
the Americas,
Quetzalcoatl or whatever the city's name was. I'm probably not that far off. Don't laugh at me. And Hiroshima and various other things. You could have done stuff with that, and the thing that was like,
I agree with you. As a series, it would have been more impactful. It would have been better. Absolutely.
And the Deviants were basically turned into just monsters. And the thing that was like, it was like, oh, we killed them all. What are we going to do now? Let's just live lives on the planet until Arishem shows up and tells us we can go back to our home planet. And it's like, so for all these centuries, because apparently the Deviants were all dead by what, 1500?
Yeah, or something.
And they're, all right, we're just going to fart around for 500 years now. Really? You don't do anything? No adventures, no nothing.
It was more than 500 years.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. There was a lot going on, but I didn't feel invested in this film, and I kind of was disappointed by that because I really wanted to like this movie. I mean, it's very, very pretty.
Like I said, the thing that gets you invested is the characters. Right. And if you never really get a chance to bond with the characters or identify with the characters, I mean, some of them had interesting little foibles to them, like with Sprite. She was a kid forever, so obviously she's bummed about that. Icarus was kind of torn by his missions and whatnot. Is that it? I guess Hephaestus lost his faith in humanity, but then it was just like, oh, you know what? I kind of got it back.
Wait, what was his name?
Faustus.
Faustus or Hephaestus? He's supposed to be the basis of Hephaestus.
It was Faustus.
That's his last. That's his name. Yeah. Faustus. Okay, Faustus.
With an F or...
Did you?
I don't know.
Did you like? Who was your favorite character? Who was your favorite character? And then tell me which of those characters you think did the best job.
My favorite character? I don't think I had a favorite character. That was what the problem was. I couldn't. Like I said, some of them had interesting little characteristics that made me want to be like, it would be a bit interesting to see more of
this person.
But there really wasn't much beyond that. I found it kind of funny that Druig kept the same haircut for 7,000 years.
Yeah, his haircut was kind of...
And it was like the worst haircut ever.
Didn't most of them though?
I think so. Well,
At least some of their hair looked nice.
I don't know. His hair, well, maybe because his hair was so offensive that I noticed it. But seriously, you'd figure with a haircut like that, at some point in 7,000 years, he would have changed it up.
Faust's hair didn't change. Sprite's hair didn't change. Thena's hair didn't change.
Come on, after 7,000 years, you got to
change. Nobody's hair. I don't even know what
maybe
you're
their
talking
hair,
about.
maybe,
Icarus's hair didn't change.
Maybe their hair didn't grow.
Maybe
if they cut it off, it would never come
So, do you think any of the character, like, who was the best developed character?
Icarus.
Really? Why?
I would just say he's probably more interesting because I felt like he actually had a character arc.
Possibly.
Cersei sort of had a character arc.
She did.
Sort of.
So
I guess.
So this is where I'm at. I liked Gilgamesh a lot because I liked that actor. I loved him in Train to Busan.
Gilgamesh was good.
I really liked Gilgamesh,
also,
but I felt like
horribly underdeveloped.
Horribly.
He had one purpose. He had one purpose. His purpose
sacrificed.
was, to be sacrificed. Well, I don't want to give away spoilers. We'll give away spoilers in the spoiler section.
Sorry.
Edit this out. Yeah, you don't really get to know much about Gilgamesh other than he's sort of like he becomes Athena's keeper.
Which was weird too. I don't know.
Well, they needed somebody to keep an eye on her. And so his character served that purpose.
I liked Druig because I think out of all of them, he was the most consistent.
Druig, yeah, I would say Druig was interesting in that I thought maybe he would be the one that like went over to the dark side or something like that.
Right.
And
he sort of did because what he was doing, I mean, I understood what he was doing, but at the same time, it was still cringe.
Yeah, he had a cringy sort of power. His power was basically mind control.
Right.
And
which
mind control is never good, but he really did want to use it for good.
For good. Right.
But I think he realized that if he did that, then humans wouldn't be humans. They would lose everything that makes them unique. You need the bad along with the good.
Right.
Because then there's growth. I guess that was sort of like the theme of the movie, maybe, that with the good comes the bad, and
you take the good.
Yeah. There you have the facts. And through that mixing of the two, you get growth.
I liked Makari, but also horribly underdeveloped.
Probably the least developed out of every single character. She had a cool power. I loved her power. She was messing stuff up. Yeah.
But yeah.
It was just like, I remember we were watching it and we were like, they reach a certain point in the movie and we're like, oh yeah, she's still in this.
Yes. Yeah, and nobody went to look for her.
Yeah. And apparently, she was just sitting in the same spot for 7,000 years, or 5,000 years,
eating Twinkies and reading books.
Yeah, eating Twinkies and reading books.
I'd
That's the thing. Come on, how long could you do the same thing?
I don't know. Faustus was interesting.
Faustus,
but also a little bit more developed, but not developed enough for me
by
to
much.
give a
You got to see
him.
he had a family,
right?
And that was it. You know?
I didn't particularly care for Sprite.
Sprite, yeah, she really wasn't developed. She had a nice little, like I said, a little bit of a conflict to her life or her existence. She kind of got the raw deal out of all the Eternals.
I felt like Kingo was wasted, and his sole purpose was to be comedy relief.
Yeah, him and his assistant provided some comedy relief, but it was not like a humiliating sort of comedy relief. It was just he gave you lighthearted moments. But so did Gilgamesh, and so did Faustus. The three of them combined were like the lighthearted part. Kind
of, but still, I felt like he was wasted in this film. Oh, it was really unfortunate because I really liked Anjani. Ajak, not my favorite character.
Ajak was there for exposition.
Athena
was, we just need a cool fighter.
Icarus, in your opinion, the better developed
Icarus,
character.
Yeah,
probably
one of the more developed characters in the film. It's close between him and probably Cersei.
And
they're honestly they are the main protagonists in this movie.
In this film, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Do we do numbers and then speak to spoilers? Because this just came out on Disney Plus yesterday.
Okay.
We made time to watch it today, and I don't know how to feel about this movie. I'm very conflicted here.
Just let's do the numbers.
All right.
Olive, what's your number?
What's your number, Olive? 1 to 10.
6.
Gigi?
5.
I'd probably give it a 6.
I'm going to give it... I don't know what to give it, actually.
Is it average?
Average is 5, right?
Yeah.
It was a little better than average, but I'm still kind of baffled
6 is like okay. It was okay.
at how much
That's what we gave No Time to Die, I believe.
we gave No Time to Die a 6.
Yeah.
This was better than a 6 then.
6 is
wanna-
is okay.
I want to punch No Time to Die repeatedly.
Was that bad?
In retrospect, maybe No Time to Die was a 5, actually, but I think
we should have given that movie a 5, and then I guess this would be a 6. So then, if we gave No Time to Die a 6, then I'm gonna have to give this movie a 6.5.
Okay.
Not my favorite Marvel movie,
No.
but incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, it was a pretty movie.
I think the actors did the best they could with what they had.
It was pretty. I thought all the actors did a decent job. I just don't think...
Shout out to the effects team and the costuming, because that was really on like that Disney/Marvel top tier level.
I just don't think the writing...
I don't think the writing was strong on this.
The story... Actually, it was the story. There's too many goddamn characters. You can't tell a story that spans this much time.
Okay,
with this
I
many
have a
characters
question for you.
in 2 hours.
I have a question for you. Okay, granted, the core group is a little bit smaller than this, right? Because who do you have again in this damn movie? You have
Icarus,
1,
Cersei,
2, 3, 4,
Ajax,
5,
Athena,
6, 7,
Festus,
8, 9,
Makkari,
10. You have
Druid,
10 characters. You have 10 characters.
Gilgamesh.
I just counted it for my IMDb, trust me.
Okay.
You have 10 characters. Guardians of the Galaxy, you have Quill, you have Gamora, you have Groot, you have Rocket, and you have Drax.
It's half the characters.
Half the characters. I was going to say...
Also Mantis.
Well,
We're
Mantis
talking
comes
about the
later.
first one.
We're talking about the first core group. So you still have half the size. But I felt like even though there was a lot of players in that, the story there was written in such a way that everyone gets their moment. Nobody's wasted.
True, but also consider Groot is not really... I am Groot. He says that. He has the heartwarming moment.
I am Groot.
And pretty much that's it. Groot and Rocket are basically like can be considered one character.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
Groot isn't around unless Rocket's there.
Fair enough, but Rocket has his own personality.
Rocket's got his own personality, but Groot is sort of like Rocket's NPC or
What? No, you're
he's
wrong.
like his side character, his sidekick.
You're wrong.
Groot
You're
is
wrong.
Rocket's sidekick.
All
Come
right.
on.
So still a large ensemble piece, because even in the first Guardians, you have Ronan, you have Michael Rooker's character.
Ronan was not the most interesting bad guy.
He wasn't, but he's still an extra character in this
Michael
film.
Rooker was far more developed than Ronan.
Yes, absolutely. What was his name? Yondu.
Yondu.
So you had Yondu, you had Ronan, you had with Karen Gillan's Nebula. You have a huge world building here. You had the Charles C. Riley, John Riley character.
That's not. That's.
I understand.
He's an
but
extra. He has
understand
maybe
that.
4 lines in the movie.
I understand that, but still, he is part of this story that didn't fall apart because of all of these characters.
Yeah, well, like I said,
There was
you're
a lot going on in that first Galaxy movie, and
there
yet
was,
you
but
still were on board for all of it.
true, but you're dealing with half the characters. You're able to get more time, and like I said, some of the characters were not the focal point,
Right.
and you're dealing with a much shorter time span. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy took place over the course of like what, a week? This film takes place over the course of 7,000 years.
I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. I can't reconcile it in my head. I can't get over how weird this movie felt to me. It was too much. It was too much.
It should have been a show. It should not have been a movie.
Okay, are we speaking to spoilers now? Because I really want to get into the meat and potatoes.
Okay, spoilers. Turn off if you don't want to hear spoilers.
We're gonna speak to spoilers. Why did Aramesh? What was his name?
The Eternal?
The big thing, yeah.
The Celestial, sorry?
Celestial.
Yeah, Aramesh.
Why did he take Cersei, Faustus, and Kingo?
He says it right at the end. He says, I'm going to use your memories to judge whether humanity is worth keeping around, and if not, I'm going to just kill everybody.
Okay. I was like, why those three?
Because they were the only ones left on the planet.
Oh, the other ones were on the ship.
The other ones left. And what's her name? Sprite wasn't an Eternal anymore.
Right.
She was just a human being. He was able to grab them. He cosmic energy, eternal, celestial connection, whatever.
I don't know. I wanted to like this more.
I mean, I would have liked to have liked it more, but I just based upon the trailers and the reviews, I went in with very low expectations, and I feel like my expectations were kind of met. I was expecting worse, actually. Mm-hmm. And this actually was not bad. It was a story that was sort of interesting. I don't think I'd ever watch it again unless I was needed to recap in case they bring these people back for something, which apparently they are. But it didn't, like I said, none of those characters charmed me at all. And I don't even know if it's the character's fault, because maybe if I had more time to spend with them, right, and I was able to see their amazing adventures through history, I could be like, oh man, Cersei's super cool. Icarus is awesome. Faustus, oh wow, remember that one in the Civil War where he built that crazy super train that got all the slaves out or something like that?
Yeah.
Look, you could have like Indiana Jones style adventures with all of these characters.
Right.
Just going through time and all sorts of craziness, and especially in the Marvel universe.
Right.
I mean, they've heroes going back to God knows when. Well, 7,000 years apparently.
Yeah.
You got to have villains. I mean, why did the Deviants have to die in 1500? And why were they just animals? That annoyed me, because I know from the comics they weren't just animals. Like, they actually had personalities and motives, and they wanted to destroy humanity. They lived underground. Give me some of that. Make it a little bit more of an even fight. It was just, you have this basically Superman just laser beaming and just slaughtering these things. And it was just, I mean, yeah, they're killing people, but I feel a little bad for these things now. Crow was right. Crow was apparently the deviant that actually gained sentience or whatever.
Oh, that was Bill Skarsgård, by the way.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah, I guess his voice.
Yeah, and I wasn't really impressed with his appearance. He was completely CG.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked okay, but all of them looked. It was like, hey, what if we made animals out of noodles? Come on. Give me a good bad. That's what I want. I want a good bad guy. And I understand, well, we got 10 characters we got to get through. We can't really develop a bad guy too. That's just crappy. Maybe you could have just kept it down to like 4 Eternals
or 5. Make it half.
Or 5, yeah. I mean, apparently 5 seems to be the limit, unless you're going to go the route where each of them get their own little solo film, and then you build up to an Avengers-style crossover. That's why Avengers worked, because you didn't have to deal with Iron Man's origin, Thor's origin, Captain America's origin. All you had to deal with, here's Black Widow and Hawkeye. Oh, they're assassins. Okay, enough of their story. Good. And even Black Widow got introduced in Iron Man 2, if I remember right. So she already had something of we already knew who the hell she was.
She had her own spin-off movie, and I guess her sister keeps the
Well, we're getting ahead of my point. But I'm just saying that the reason why Marvel films have succeeded is because we've got to know the characters. And the characters charmed us. We care about them. We genuinely care about Tony Stark and Thor and Captain America. We care about the Guardians of the Galaxy because we had these moments where you got to see stuff in their lives that were like, that changed them, that made them who they are, the interactions between themselves. And this one, it was just, there's just too many. There's too many freaking characters.
I agree with you.
There's
I
just
think
not enough time.
I think it would have worked way better as a series. Instead of making new content this year, they could have done a whole thing with just these actors for this calendar year and just done like a series and focused on each character and then maybe build that into the superhero movie, right?
Yeah, because honestly, this was basically just an introduction. This was an introduction to that Eternals world. And
Right.
you get some hints at the end. Oh, well, apparently, I guess Thanos was one of them too. And stuff like that. Because you get introduced to Thanos' brother, the sleazy Star Fox, in the post-credit scene.
And also Cersei's boyfriend, Dane,
Oh,
who turns out to be
You get a bit of a hint of the Black Knight, which is another minor Marvel character that I guess they're going to
who
do something
gets in conversation with someone who we speculate is somebody who's going to show up in a Marvel movie this year, I believe.
This is the spoiler section.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't have to be coy about any of this
All
stuff.
right. All right. So do you want to say who we think it is?
It sounds like it's
Going to be Blade.
going to be Blade. At the end, Dane, played by Kit Harington, opens up some big crate, and there's the mystic ebony blade there, and he's going to, I guess, touch it and become the Black Knight when suddenly you hear a voice from off screen, and I'm pretty sure that was Mahershala Ali, who apparently, from all the news, is going to be the new Blade.
Right. Which is coming out this year, I believe.
I don't know. I
think so.
I don't think so.
Next year?
I don't know if they have a release date for it at all.
I thought they did.
No, I think next or this year is going to be Doctor Strange, Thor, and there's one other. I can't remember what the other one is though, but it's not Blade.
Black Panther?
That got pushed back.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah, but it's Doctor Strange, Thor, and
Is it Ant-Man?
I think it is. I
Okay.
think it's Ant-Man. Yes. I don't think they've ever announced a release date for Blade.
Oh. They just not.
I
They
think
just said
there's-
that he's going to be the
I think
guy playing
they're
it.
still in the planning stage. He walked out on stage when they introduced it, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's going to be another Eternals movie for at least
while, yeah.
a couple of years.
You think she's going to direct it again, or they're probably going to go a different way?
You know what? I kind of hope not, because she did what she could with what she had. But like I said, just too many goddamn characters. You know what? Maybe the next one would be fantastic, because I'll be honest, the action scenes were great.
Yeah, they were decent. Yeah.
It looked pretty. I think she handled all the super heroics very well.
Yeah. Well,
And
if we
I
do
gotta
have
say-
another one, it'll be less than 10 because there were some fatalities
yeah, there were
here.
some fatalities, but I think, yeah, you know what? I'm being a little too
But
too
then
harsh.
Makari was like, "But we're gonna go out there and like try to get simpatico with these other Eternals and try to get them on board with us."
Yeah, but they said the same thing with Black Widow, and she, as far as like her helping other Black Widows, we saw like what, one?
They did it off screen, I guess.
Yeah, all that stuff's gonna happen off screen.
But I'm sure they're gonna bring in new people
Yeah.
to. I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about this movie.
Anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I just.
It's a 6. It's an okay movie.
It's an okay movie. If you're
a Marvel completionist, go see it.
Yeah.
If you feel like, you know, maybe
If you like any of
maybe
these
I'll-
act's, go see it.
yeah, if you like Chloé
If-
Zhao, go see it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I was being a bit too hard, because I'll be honest, yeah, there's a buttload of characters, but I think she did a decent job moving from point to point to point.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that
It would have worked
it
better.
would have worked better as a series, or you cut out probably half of the Eternals. And also, I would say a big portion of this movie is we got to find the others. And then they find one of the others. And then we got to find the others.
Yeah.
And then they find another one.
Well, nobody was freaking looking for Makari, which is ridiculous.
Nobody was looking for Makari. It was sort of like, it felt almost like, well, we gotta build this sort of like super equipment. We got Faustus now, or Festus, whatever his name. Faustus. We got Faustus now. He's the guy who can build anything at anything. We need to go back to our spaceship. They go back to the spaceship, and it's like, oh, it's Makari. She's sitting here.
Just chilling.
Thank goodness how convenient. Instead of her maybe having a life of her own, going around doing stuff. Apparently, she was in love with Druig. Why wasn't she hanging out with him for the past 500 freaking years?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, there were some mistakes made in this movie. It would have been better as a show. Definitely would have been better as a show. A show you could have a nice big cast. You could explore.
You could give
more
each character their own
time.
Yeah.
You can have one-off episodes that give you more of a sense. You can let us experience why these characters are interesting. And it can't just be, because he could shoot lasers out of his eyes. No, that's not enough for me. I need to have I need to be charmed. God damn it.
Yeah.
Charm me.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel's usually better at this, and this kind of fell flat.
Tony Stark was charming. Thor was charming. Captain America's charming. Star-Lord's charming. Black Panther's charming. Ant-Man's charming.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker's charming. Doctor Strange is charming. They're all good.
Yeah.
They have some sort of thing that
Loki.
I'm just like, Loki, and he was a bad guy.
Yeah, he was a bad guy, yeah.
They got to have some sort of thing which makes me feel like, you know what? I would love to see more stories with this person.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I never see another story with Cersei or Makari or any of them ever again. They are background characters. Everybody was like a background character in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kept going on in some of these reviews. Oh, it's like nothing you've ever seen.
It's pretty.
It is pretty.
Absolutely pretty, but it's like a movie where everybody's an extra.
Yeah.
Usually in a movie with this many people, I would say 75% of them die. And in this movie, only maybe 10% of them died.
So we saw Dune earlier this year. Tons of characters, but because you filmed it this way, this was only the first part.
Well, this
so I wonder if
there were a lot of characters, but the film was focused on Paul.
True.
You didn't. All the other characters were there to serve a purpose, and they served their purpose, and that was it.
So should they have done that with this? Should they just have focused on on Cersei and sort of been like just had everyone else in the periphery come in and have your moment, and then big fight, and then maybe at the end, because I feel like this movie could be a one-off. I mean, obviously it's not going to be, but it could be.
The problem with that, like I said, if you're going to have the one character who's the main, and then you have all the other characters, those characters can't be integral to the finish. Mm-hmm. They have to die or be eliminated from the story in some other way. At the end of the story, Paul's entire family is dead, except for his mom. That's it. They're all dead. Did you forget?
I didn't forget, but they didn't.
They're all dead by the end of the movie. The only one that's alive is Paul
and his mother
and his mom. And then you're introduced at the very end to some new characters.
Right, from him.
Who had no real purpose in the film. Mm-hmm. We're gonna get to know these people later on.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Should the thought have been? Well, it goes back to what you said. This should have been a series, right?
Yeah.
So
well, you can't. But that's the thing. That's the problem with this, because you don't want to kill all these characters. You want them to all work together and be a team and whatever. But okay, that works. But I don't care about any of them.
Right.
I wouldn't have cared if everybody died in this movie. I wouldn't have cared if like there was a point in the film where I was like, maybe everybody dies and they make this big sacrifice and that's the end. And if that had happened,
That would have been more impactful.
I may have been a little bit more satisfied.
Yeah.
I mean, because seriously, my heart was not with
Anybody.
anybody really.
Well, the other thing, I mean,
At least
They
at least
sort of throw
at least
you-
beyond a superficial level.
they sort of throw you in a tailspin because then Thena's character has this thing where her brain, I guess, gets jumbled up.
Yeah, and she tries to kill everybody.
And she tries to kill everybody.
And seems more focused on killing her allies than any enemies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the enemies are there and she's not even thinking about them. She's just trying to kill.
Yeah, but then at the end, it's sort of like, okay, we're just going to forget about that. And she's just this great fighter at the end.
Well, she was always the great fighter, but
She was always a great fighter, but by the time we reach present day, she's
why wouldn't this malady also affect some of the others? No.
because she was she was basically broken from when she was created. It's basically the Eternals are pretty much like recycled robots, and they get sent to a planet to basically increase the population of the planet or help the population grow to a certain point where all the mental energy of everybody like pretty much sort of nurtures a growing celestial, which is nestled inside the heart of the planet. And then when the celestial's born, the entire planet is ripped asunder because the celestials are just gigantic. They are bigger than planets. So they didn't know that, but that's what their job was. And once that job is done, the Celestials take the Eternals, wipe their brains, take all their memories out, put those memories in like a storage bin somewhere, and put them on another planet, all fresh,
To do it again.
do it all over again.
So is it just this band of Eternals, or is there more Eternals?
There are more Eternals. They introduce you to one of them right at the end of the movie. Star Fox. He says, I'm an Eternal. And apparently, since he's the brother of Thanos, I guess Thanos was an Eternal too at one point.
I don't know.
But what doesn't make sense with that, though, is if he was an Eternal, I'm guessing at some point he must have been on Earth because he's like, my name is Eros. And all the Eternals are basically based or supposedly the origin of Greek mythology and other mythologies too. So I'm guessing he was on Earth at some point. Was Thanos on Earth at some point? I mean, his name is also Greek origin.
Well, he was, right? Because they talk about him doing the snap.
No, I mean in the ancient past.
Oh, in the ancient past, I don't know.
When they created the Thanatos, the death, was that supposed to be Thanos? I don't know. Jack Kirby had a lot of crazy ideas. I don't know if they were all really thought out that deeply.
I mean, I don't know. I agree with you. If they had gone the other route of doing this like kind of like a weekly thing and culminating into a thing that could have been like the movie, I think that would have been better.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that this got planned this way. I mean, it is pretty, again, the locations are beautiful. The costuming is really gorgeous and just...
I feel like this film is a building block for something else.
Yes.
It's not, I don't know if this film stands up by itself, but I think in the greater scheme of things, it'll be like a...
It would be interesting to know that, well, to know how this movie pans out at the end. I mean, I think it's still... Is it still in the box office or?
No, I think it's out already.
It's out. It would be interesting to see what the numbers are, how much money was put into the actual project, how much was money, because a ton of budget goes into advertising. Because obviously if a movie doesn't make money, the chances of it coming back are slimmer, right?
I think all of them make something of a profit, and the fact that they're viewed as a whole thing, like all the Marvel, it's basically viewed as a whole. I think they're allowed they're allowed a somewhat underperforming thing. If underperformance becomes a regular thing, then that could be a problem. But then again, they followed this up with freaking Spider-Man, which is apparently
A
in a
juggernaut.
pandemic, the second highest grossing film ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Go figure. Go figure. Yeah. America just does not give a shit
It's
about
not,
COVID anymore.
Don't blame America. It's the entire world.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Everybody went to go see Spider-Man except for us, apparently.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait for it to come out on streaming. I don't want to mess with this Omicron.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's wrap it up. We're
All right. Yeah, I'm tired, and this really took it out of me. It felt like 2 hours and 36 minutes.
Yeah, we should have probably saved this for the weekend.
Yeah.
Watched it earlier.
All right, that's it from us, and we will bid you all a good night.
Good night.